Right, we're on today. We're going to talk about the legs in the golf swing, how we can get the thighs to work for us. That'll gain you distance, it'll gain you a purer golf strike, and it'll let you understand sequencing of the golf swing. It'll make sure we're getting the large muscles to swing instead of the hands and arms only. It will add yardage to your game. Once you've got the understanding of how the legs work and how we can sequence it from the ground up, it has to add power. It's going to gain you distance. And let's be honest, who doesn't want extra distance, eh? Chicks dig the long ball. Right, okay, we're talking about legs in the golf swing today. Before we talk about legs in the golf swing though, could you please hit the subscribe button? That would be great. We're up 30,000 subscribers now, which is fantastic. Subscription is obviously free, so please just click that little button down there and you'll get the content every week that I put up on the channel. Brilliant. So legs in the golf swing, legs are a power source. There's quite a lot of power down here, your thighs. A lot of power can be applied from them. A lot of people don't use them correctly though. They get into a position where they early extend through impact, so they kind of stand up as they're playing the shot. It's not a good thing, that. Being able to use your large muscles as a power source is obviously going to increase your chances of hitting the golf ball further. It's also going to let you time the swing a little bit better, so you've got a better grounding to work from, if you like, rather than just using hands and arms to heave at the golf ball. If we're more structured using our large muscles, then our golf can improve, or your golf can improve. Quite like my golf to improve though. My golf has improved dramatically from Eureka Golf Swing, being able to get the left knee to get out of the way, so therefore I'm using my leg, I'm getting the bottom half to move first before the top half follows through. Today we are talking about the thighs. Let's talk about the upper part of the leg. I'm going to take some tape, put down the front of each thigh. There we go, so I have tape on both thighs. Now when I take the club back, I want to try and ensure that I get the tape from the top of these thighs to go outwards. So the right hand leg, the right leg as I go back, I want to make sure that I can turn my right hip enough to make sure that the tape, instead of pointing straight towards the camera here, address, I turn and the tape then continues round outside. So it's pointing to the right of me as I take the club back. And that's going to ensure that I've got hip turn, therefore there's going to be shoulder turn. Then on the way down I want to transfer that outer motion to the left side. So I want to do that before the shoulders come back through, or before the upper body activates itself. So there, top of my swing, I want to ensure that my right hip is pointing away from the golf ball in this direction. And then the way down I want to get, as soon as I possibly can, I want that left hip, this white line here, to now point out towards the target left of the golf ball. So I want to point, both pointing towards golf ball. As I take the club back, I want to make sure the right one's pointing to the right, so it's giving me the right hip, so nice deep right hip there. Right shoulders turn back, and then on the way down as I come through, I want the left hip to turn through so it points left of the golf ball. All that before the golf club makes contact with the ball. Right hip, outside right, left hip, outside left. Taking some practice swings just to feel that. If I move up here, you'll be able to see what this does. So you can see if I'm there, that's no use. I want to get there. So you can see how the right one's now turned away, and then the left one's going to be activated from the top. Address position. Top, halfway down. Top, halfway down. Now what's that actually doing? If I was to look down the line, what would that be doing? Top, halfway down. Top, halfway down. So this section here is now working and controlling the top half. So therefore, if I ignore that and leave it pointing forward, up the top, then come down, point to the top, everything's pointing forward, I've stood up and the club's gone out in front of me. Or I get the top, point towards camera, good, and then I get the left one activated, there. Club's more behind me now. Different than that, isn't it? Now that all looks very simple, but it's actually having that feeling of how the right hip is turned behind you to ensure that the right thigh points right of the golf ball. Now this will feel quite different for a lot of people, because a lot of people haven't activated the bottom half of their golf swing. They haven't used the legs before. I also feel that if I keep my knees as far apart as I possibly can to the top of my swing, that helps. So I get my right knee away from my left. I feel as though I get my right knee away from my left. And then on the way down, I want my left knee to get away from my right. But of course they're chasing each other. I want to try and keep the chase going. I don't want them to catch up at all. Therefore, so GG Swing Tips talks about this. George Gankis, he talks very much about this action coming through. Very similar sort of idea. We're kind of thinking about it in a different way. Maybe a way that's a little bit easier to understand. Right hip to point out to the right, left hip to point out to the left before impact. Right to the right, left to the left. Right to the right, left to the left. All before impact. So making sure the left one, so the right one's obviously going to be before impact, but the left one goes left before that club makes contact with the golf ball. And as Eureka Golf Swing says, the only thing behind the ball at impact is your right foot and your right shoulder. The feeling of that. Right hip out, right thigh out, left thigh out. Externally rotating. External rotation, external rotation. External, external. External, external. It's good. Again. You can also, if you feel as though it's advantageous for you to splay your feet out, to allow that to happen, do it. It's going to help the shoulders turn. Just make sure when you do that though, if you open it up, that you don't lean away from the golf ball. You have to stay centred over that ball for that strike to be pure. So dress position. Good. Right thigh out to right, left thigh out to left. Feeling that squatting motion, removing that early extension through impact. Like that. So we're now starting to drive the golf swing with our larger muscles instead of just hands and arms. We're starting to introduce the bottom half of the body. Even just motions like this, just warm up motions like this to feel how the right thigh can actually do what it's supposed to do. Activate it back into the golf ball by externally rotating the left thigh. It's all good stuff. There we go. So that should help. So that should also add yardage to your golf game. You should be able to power the drives out there longer because you're now using the ground forces are part of the game now. So you're starting to activate your golf swing from the ground up. We're starting to use the thighs instead of just hands and arms, but really trying to make sure that when you do that, when you get that right hip point out to the right at the top of the backswing, it's through a deep turn of the right hip. So the right hip's going behind you. Right hip's moving behind you. You're not pulling yourself off the golf ball to get to that motion. You're still centred over where that golf ball was. And then of course that power of that motion on the outside external rotation of the right thigh, you've moved that to the left thigh before you've hit the golf ball. And it creates a lot of turn, a lot of torque, a lot of power, a lot of forces. And it can only add distance to your golf shot. One thing to be aware of though, is to begin with you might get a few funky ones. You might miss the middle of the club to begin with, but certainly that is only an action of, or a byproduct of losing control of club head awareness slightly because we no longer control it with our hands. Now our hands are the only point of contact with the golf club obviously, and we're kind of taking that away because it's more pivot driven and body driven. But once you really understand how the body turns to let the club head do its thing instead of the hands letting the club head do its thing, you will feel pure impact, you'll feel pure strike, and you'll gain that distance and confidence in your golf swing that you're after. As I mentioned before, we're now up at 30,000 subscribers. If you please click the subscribe button, that would be great. Let's try and get to 40,000, that would really help me out big time. And also hit the thumbs up button. That helps the algorithm of YouTube, which again helps the channel, which again encourages more subscribers. And the bell notification icon, click that just for a laugh, see what happens. You get a wee notification every week of all my videos that come up. Simple.